Some moments linger endlessly. It's not only about the event, but about the person you became in its wake. It began on a rainy Saturday afternoon, a day that feels burdensome from the start. The sky was a muted gray, caught between tears and silence. I stood by the kitchen window, rain streaking the glass, and for the first time in a long while I felt utterly alone. Johnny, my husband, left that morning for another business trip. No farewell kiss. Silence lingers. A hurried departure, the front door clicks shut. As he drove away, I questioned when we became so distant. When did I become just background noise in his life? The children spent the weekend with their grandmother. The silence in the house lingers. It was chaotic. It was deafening. A silence that settles in your chest, causing your heart to ache. I moved through the rooms, organizing what was unnecessary, seeking a sense of presence. Remains valuable. Remains evident. My phone buzzed then. A message from Henry, a close friend of Johnny. Harry and Henry were part of the chat as well. All three. They claimed to be close. They planned to visit briefly. Perhaps I should have declined. I should have reconsidered. I chose not to. I hesitated, fingers poised above the screen, then replied, "Sure, come over." In an instant I opened a door I now know I can't close. I attempted to act as if it didn't matter. Only friends stopping by. Familiar faces from the past. As they crossed the threshold, a change occurred. I sensed it. The air grew warmer, denser. Their laughter replaced Johnny's presence. For the first time in ages, someone truly saw me. Leave the past behind. Not by my hand. Look at me. Henry smiled gently, as if he recognized something within me that I had overlooked. Harry made jokes as usual, but this time his tone carried an edge. What about Henry? He hugged me with sincerity. He recalled the sensation of holding a woman close. I let it go. I reassured myself it was just foolishness. It was merely my imagination at play. Yet I sensed that something had begun. A threat looms. I showed my weakness. I craved affection. I stood in a quiet house with three men who in an instant made me feel acknowledged. What followed? I've kept it to myself. Not even I. No. Admitting it would mean facing who I became that day. Stay with me. If you truly wish to know, I will share it all. Be aware, this story lacks clear heroes and villains. It's more complicated. It exists. It altered everything. Pause for a moment and breathe. Subscribe to witness heartfelt tales unfold. The rest of this story is hard to believe. I married early, perhaps too young. In those days it seemed straightforward. Love was enough to create a life. It started simply. Johnny captivated me. He was a man of confidence and drive, commanding any room he entered. His words could spark laughter around the table. He had dreams, significant ones, and I believed in each one. I felt pride in him. I aimed to be his refuge, his sanctuary. For a time I believed I was. Time wears everything down. Amid late nights at the office, promotions, deadlines, and fleeting dinners, Johnny ceased to see me as he once did. He returned home later, smiled less, and touched me as if it were obligatory, not desired. We shared a bed, yet the distance felt colder than the sheets. I made an effort. I gave it my all. I resumed making his favorite meals. I lit candles. I purchased new lingerie once. He hardly glanced away from his laptop. He expressed fatigue. I smiled and nodded, masking my confusion, but inside, I felt a small fracture deepen. We have 2 children. Vibrant, lively children. When they return, the house becomes a true home. Fingers on the fridge, crayon art on the walls, footsteps echoing in the hallway. Their laughter once kept me whole. Yet their joy couldn't mask Johnny's absence. He was present undeniably. What about feelings? It had been months since he was in the same room as me. I broke the silence in the only way I could. I dedicated myself to making our house warm and inviting. If I can't mend our marriage, perhaps I can improve the environment surrounding it. The living room turned into my project. Beige curtains, gold pillows, eucalyptus candles flickering. A throw draped over the couch arm. Framed family pictures lined the staircase. Johnny and the kids. Stiff grins. Silent deceptions. His friends began visiting more frequently then. Henry led the way. He visited on weekends, claiming to be passing through. Yet he always arrived with something in hand. Pastries, wine, and occasionally flowers for the hostess. He sat at the kitchen island, talking as I folded laundry or prepped dinner. He was not flirtatious, not really. His presence brought a sense of comfort. He heard. He inquired about my day. He laughed at my stories as if they held any humor. Malik arrived, vibrant and boisterous. He brought the kids small gifts. Comic books, candy, and a mini drone once. The kids loved him. I valued the distraction. He was daring, often teasing, referring to me as Queen of the Castle and Wonder Mom. Seemed innocent initially. Only humor. Yet, at times, a fire flickered in his gaze, a lingering glance when Johnny was absent. Then came Henry. Henry stood apart. He spoke less. He had no reason to. His calm, confident energy drew you in. He observed the changes in my hair, and the new shade of lipstick. He reminded me I mattered, that I was still someone to see, to know. It began quietly. Casual visits, a knock, Johnny's home. No, he isn't. May I come in? I never declined. I felt alone. Not merely solitary. Isolated. A loneliness that grips your chest, unseen and unyielding. I longed for connection, for conversation, for recognition. I longed for a sense of significance. With Johnny, it was all just a checklist. Essentials, expenses, activities. Yet with his friends, I laughed once more. I felt free. Partially present, yet still seen. I understood the risks. I understood its potential form. When you've been deprived of affection, even small gestures feel abundant. In that serene, adorned house, scented with eucalyptus and filled with memories I sought to keep, 3 men entered, unwittingly crossing into a space Johnny had left vacant. I overlooked it then. I convinced myself it was usual. Pure. In hindsight, I realized I had an inkling. A change was imminent. No one would leave unscathed. It began as something straightforward. Johnny faced another trip, a weekend business retreat with his company. All is normal. He traveled constantly in hotels, conference rooms, pursuing the next deal. I no longer asked questions. I stopped pretending to be upset. The day before he left, while packing, he mentioned that his friends might visit in his absence. They might spend some time together, watch the game, he said, eyes fixed on his suitcase. Simply be kind. Ensure their comfort. I chuckled, mostly in disbelief. Now I'm hosting your friends while you're gone? He kissed my cheek briefly, a mere formality, and said, "You've always been a great hostess." That was all. That was the moment. So tiny. So mundane. Yet they catch you off guard. Rain began early the next afternoon. Soft initially, then intense. It tapped persistently on the windows, a subtle alert. I lit candles in the living room, creating a cozy atmosphere. I thought if I was going to spend the weekend alone with 3 men, I should create a welcoming atmosphere. I wore a simple dress, modest yet fitting, a reminder of my identity beyond wife and mother. The doorbell rang at 5:30. First Henry, then Harry, then Henry again. Each one bears a burden. Henry arrived with red wine. Harry had food. Henry brought flowers. Not for him. For myself. He handed me a small bouquet of white lilies for our lovely hostess. I smiled, masking the catch in my breath. Acting as if my heart remained steady, we gathered in the living room. The fire crackled, the wine breathed, and laughter lingered. It moved smoothly. All too simple. We shared college memories, discussed the kids, work, movies, everything. Harry teased me about my wine taste when I brought out the glasses. Henry set the table. No request needed. Henry's gaze was fixed on me the whole time. Silently. Intently. I prepared dinner. Roasted chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, and green beans with almonds. I had done it countless times, but that night it was different. I plated it carefully, adding small garnishes as if cooking for someone special. They saw. They praised the food, my kitchen, the ambience. I blushed more often than I cared to acknowledge. Then the wine arrived. 1 glass became 2. 2 became 3. The laughter intensified, eye contact held, and casual touches, like Henry brushing my arm, felt significant. Harry joked about Johnny's luck. Henry remained silent. He simply gazed at me. I will always remember that look. It lacked clear implications. It wasn't truly inappropriate, not really. It was intense. Silence. A gaze that conveyed the unsaid. A question lingers between us. My heart raced. Not out of fear. I experienced a feeling I thought I had lost. Noted. Seeking. Living. I chose to look away. I looked away, chuckled at another of Harry's tales, and filled my glass again. The harm was irreversible. That night, after they departed and silence enveloped the house, I stood in the kitchen, gazing at the half-empty bottle on the counter. Henry's cologne hung in the air. A quiet reminder. Henry's voice lingered softly in my mind. The echo of Harry's laughter lingers in the air. Yet, it was Henry's gaze that lingered in my mind. It trailed behind me as I ascended the stairs. Into my room. Within my mind. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, questioning the restlessness, the warmth, the unease within me. I convinced myself it was merely wine. Only solitude. Only a vision. I understood the truth within. A change occurred that night. Something genuine. A threat looms. I felt it. We had just started. Is it wrong to seek attention? The question replayed in my mind endlessly. A broken record I couldn't silence. Is it wrong to desire to be desired? To long for the way their eyes held on? To see them laugh at my jokes as if I were the center of their world? I told myself it was absurd. Intense. I was simply lonely, allowing my imagination to take control. Yet the reality? Reality was straightforward. And more chaotic. I felt hunger. Not for consumption. Not intended as gifts. Only for connection. For something that lifted me beyond the monotony of a housewife's life. Yes, I am a mother. I am a wife. Before everything, I was myself. Somewhere, I lost sight of my own needs amidst others' demands. I lingered before the bathroom mirror that morning. I traced the lines beneath my eyes. Lines Johnny overlooked. I applied mascara with precision. Applied some blush. Wore the perfume untouched for months. I sought a feeling. Anything. I stood there remembering. To the start. In the beginning, just Johnny and me. He kissed the back of my hand for no reason. He would pause mid-sentence to say I was beautiful. We were drawn to each other, unable to resist. No reasons were necessary. Timing was unnecessary. We only needed one another. Amid work meetings and school pickups, unpaid bills and unspoken resentments, we lost the ability to connect. At home, he seldom glanced away from his phone. The warmth in his eyes faded into habit. What was once excitement has become obligation. When I entered the room, Johnny would shine. He hardly blinked. When Henry looked at me like Johnny did. When he spoke as if I mattered. When Harry made me laugh after so long, how could I not respond? I regret agreeing to dinner that second night. I chose not to. They messaged me again that afternoon, inquiring if I'd be home, and if they could come over to watch a movie and get takeout. I stopped at my phone. I stood there staring at the screen for what felt like an eternity. My thumb lingered above the keyboard. My heart raced. I knew exactly what I was doing. No, I questioned my desire for it. It was never about betrayal. It was never about revenge. It was never about them. Concern me. The cold space in my chest grows louder each day. The silence Johnny left when he stopped holding my hand. The ache lingered each night, even with him beside me. I wrote 2 words. Of course, join us. They came after the sun had set. Harry exuded confidence. Henry wore a serene smile, and Henry, always with that quiet intensity. They brought Thai food. My favorite. They recalled. We settled on the sectional, a movie flickering in the background, largely ignored. The room was dim, the screen's glow flickering over us. I sat between Harry and Henry. He stood before me, leaning against the couch's edge. Near. So close I felt his warmth against my legs. I laughed excessively. My smile faded slowly. I leaned instinctively. I despised myself for how effortless it all seemed. I told myself nothing was happening. All was pure. I was simply appreciating the presence. Absorbing the attention, like warmth after a cold season. I always knew. I sensed my decline. Each laugh, each glance, each shared look drew me nearer to a boundary I promised never to breach. I let it happen. The truth is simple. I chose not to. That second dinner revealed a path I couldn't shut. Once it opened, everything shifted. It began in seemingly minor ways. Small moments. Henry remained after Harry had gone. He claimed he forgot his phone. He remembered everything. He hesitated. He stood at the doorway, one hand on the doorknob, the other in his pocket. He smiled, a quiet, thoughtful expression that was familiar. I said I would take his phone. It was right there on the coffee table. He remained still. He stated he wasn't in a hurry. A long pause hung heavy with unspoken words. He returned to the living room, scanned the space, and sat on the couch's edge. I sat as well, absent from his side. Initially, no. Yet near enough to sense the warmth of his body in the gap between us. Close enough that silence felt natural. It felt intense. We spoke. It's not profound. Only existence. Beloved dishes. Memories of childhood. Every word carried tension. An undeniable pull I couldn't resist. When he finally stood to leave, he didn't simply walk out. He paused at the door. Changed. Gazed at me. His voice fell to a whisper. I often think about what it would be like to be Johnny, even just for a day. He smiled, said goodnight, and stepped into the rain. I stood in the hallway, hand on the door, heart racing as if I'd uncovered a forbidden truth. Henry visited the following day. He mentioned he was nearby and decided to look at the leaky kitchen faucet Johnny had brought up weeks earlier. I welcomed him, thankful for the presence. We crouched low together under the sink. The room was cramped. Our arms touched once, twice, then his hand grazed mine, warm and strong. He remained silent. I stayed close. We lingered under that sink too long. Altered what was already fine. We discussed everything except our true thoughts. He stood up, looked down at me, and said, "Johnny is lucky. You understand that, don't you?" I offered a brief smile, yet a deep ache lingered within. That evening Malik texted, as if fate was challenging me to proceed. He stood outside with a bottle of wine, claiming he had a story too funny to keep to himself. He entered laughing, vibrant as ever. He mocked my playlist. He teased me about my soft sweaters that resemble heaven. He poured wine for us, sank onto the couch, and soon we were shoulder to shoulder, laughing as we did in college, before life became complicated. His tone changed. He said, eyes fixed on mine, "I once believed Johnny wasn't worthy of you. I am certain now. I should have intervened, instructed him to leave." I remained still. Let that moment drift between us, elusive and intangible. Things changed after that. They started visiting more frequently, sometimes apart, occasionally isolated. Occasionally there is a purpose. Times lacking. A shattered seat. A book on loan. A desire for homemade cookies. Just a reason. I allowed them entry. Always. The glances lingered. The praise runs deeper. The silences carry weight. Henry brought small gifts. Fresh flowers, candles that smelled like comfort. Malik began to call me darling and placed his hand on my lower back as he walked by. Henry. Henry spoke little now. When he looked at me, I felt exposed, as if he could see parts of me I kept hidden. Yet I felt safe. Each man satisfied a unique craving within me. Henry respected me. I felt deserving of care. Malik brought laughter back into my life. What about Henry? He evoked passion. From flames. A connection beyond words. I recognized the decline. I realized I was approaching a point of no return. I kept going. In their eyes I existed. I was myself once more. Late one night, after the kids were asleep and Johnny had texted he wouldn't return until Monday, I heard a knock on the door. I opened it, expecting only one. Yet all three remained. Grinning. Dripping from the rain. None needed. Nothing awkward. This was intentional. As if they were fully aware of their actions. What about me? I stood still. Stilled. I struggled to breathe. In that moment silence spoke volumes. This is no longer about Johnny. This concerned me. What followed? I may never find the words. After that night everything changed. I should have declined. I should have shut the door. Offered a brief smile. I informed them it was late. I said I wasn't well, anything to halt what was happening before me. I chose not to. I chose to step aside. I allowed them in. They entered with confidence, united and composed. It felt like a conversation had taken place. It was as if they anticipated the night's outcome. The air weighed down. Not with heat, but with expectation. It constricts your throat, suffocating though no one is near. I attempted to mask it. I asked them to settle in as I went for more wine. My hands shook while pouring the glasses, their eyes fixed on me. All three, observing closely, noticing each change in my breath, each flicker in my eyes. We found ourselves in the living room. Same space as always, yet that night it resonated. Reduced. Fainter. Closer. The shadows lingered in the corners, unwilling to miss a moment. It began simply. We conversed, shared jokes, and laughed over familiar topics. Harry played soft, low jazz, a soundtrack that evokes deep feelings, even if the source is unclear. Harry smirked and said, "Let's play a game." I arched an eyebrow. "What are we, really?" He smiled slightly. Teenagers enjoyed themselves. We did. We played. Initially trivial, truth or dare. Seemed innocent initially. Joyful. Harry challenged Henry to perform a cheesy love song from the 90s. We laughed when he followed through. Henry challenged Harry to express something deep. Harry the Joker fell silent. She met my gaze and confessed, "I've desired something forbidden for a long time." My chest constricted. The room fell silent. I sipped my wine and smiled, pretending I hadn't heard. Yet we all listened. It was my moment. Harry moved closer. Truth or dare? I paused. My heart pounded loud enough to be heard. Truth, I murmured. He smiled, yet it lacked any trace of humor. Only heat, inquiry, and a deeper shadow. "What's a secret you've kept from Johnny?" The question struck hard. I stood still. I might have brushed it aside. I could have chosen safety. I looked at the glass in my hands and said, "I sometimes feel invisible when he's around." Silence reigned. Henry's hand brushed my knee. "Only for a moment. I acknowledge your presence." Henry leaned in. His voice was low, deep, almost a whisper. "Would you choose to change tonight if you could alter one night in your life?" Words failed me. I struggled for air. He leaned in, stirring the air between us, and the room grew warmer. His presence ignited a fire on my skin, though he never laid a hand on me. Henry sat in silence, observing me. His gaze was unwavering, solemn. It felt as if he anticipated my thoughts, as if he had known all along. Then the question ceased. The game is over. Yet the tension remained. No more dares remained. Enough with the humor. Only the four of us. In that room the air buzzed with electricity, palpable and intense. Transcended the physical. It stirred deep feelings. Distorted. Electrified. And frightening. Every glance tugged at me, pulling me in multiple directions. Each silent call. Every part of me yearned to feel. All that I had long forgotten. The silence stretched on, time lost to us. I remember the feeling. Breath shallow. My skin feels warm. My heart raced, desperate to break free. Then it happened. Nothing at all. Not a single moment. A gradual dissolution of limits. Feelings often defy reason. Boundaries blurred unexpectedly. Feelings often defy reason. Boundaries blurred unexpectedly. Unspoken words now spoken. When it ended, I stayed awake all night. I had company. No, their departure left a heaviness in the air, saturating the stillness of the house. I carry everything they gave me. Every look, every word, every feeling. I still care. The following morning, all appeared unchanged. Yet everything felt different. The sunlight filtered through the blinds, illuminating the dust in the air. Silence filled the house. Silence prevails. A haunting stillness follows the irreversible. The walls seemed aware of the events from the night before. My head throbbed. My body felt unfamiliar, as if it belonged to someone else. I glided through the house unseen, void, disengaged, anticipating a shift, a release from this hold. Yet nothing changed. My phone rang. It was Johnny. I stopped cold at the sight of his name on the screen. My fingers gripped the phone. I stared at it, hoping it might vanish if I looked long enough. I remained silent. I failed. I feared my voice would tremble. I was certain he would find meaning in it. It's beyond explanation. He chose to text. Checking in. "I hope you're well." I responded. "Everything is fine. Simply exhausted. Children are okay. Love you." Deceive. Falsehood. Deceive. I despise the simplicity of it. That morning I saw Henry in the kitchen. He sipped his coffee quietly, gaze lowered. "Good morning." He hardly glanced up. Nodded, said I had to leave. Harry stepped in, shirt half-buttoned, a smirk on his lips that failed to reach his eyes. Will you pretend it never occurred? I inquired softly. He shrugged, his boldness now wavering. What do you expect me to say? He vanished before I could say anything. Abandoned the coffee on the counter. Left me there, questions unformed. Then came Henry. He departed last. He approached the door as if it were an ordinary morning, as if all was well. He approached, leaned in, kissed my cheek softly, said nothing, met my gaze one last time, then stepped into the morning light. The silence that ensued was overwhelming. I stood in the kitchen, the clock ticking, the refrigerator humming, my thoughts heavy. The house, once filled with noise and laughter, now felt lifeless. I cleaned the living room thoroughly, changed the sheets and washed the wine glasses twice. Not due to their dirtiness, but to erase the memory of that night. Get away from me. Memories linger unwashed. They leave marks. Johnny returned home 2 days later. I saw his car arrive, him lingering in the driver's seat, as if gathering strength. He entered with a weary smile, placed his suitcase down, and kissed my head as usual. He looked at me and paused just for a second. In that moment I understood. He observed something. Perhaps it was the way I avoided his gaze. Perhaps it was how I recoiled at his touch. Perhaps it was instinct. His silence spoke volumes. I saw it there. A brief spark. Not quite suspicion. Yet distance. The distance I've felt for months is now mine alone. It originated within me. I navigated his presence as if we were unfamiliar. Respectful. Smiling at the appropriate times. Posing the essential inquiries. Yet I remained silent. Not out of guilt. Out of confusion. From the turmoil within me. Longing. Loss. Unease. A strange, terrible thrill I couldn't confess, not even to myself. Each time Johnny's hand brushed against me, I felt the weight of betrayal to a memory I both regretted and couldn't escape. I lost sight of myself. Or what I desired. I understood one truth. The harm was irreversible. I've replayed that night countless times. Each detail matters. Each laugh. Each gaze that held too much weight. Each word carried weight beyond its intent. I remain without an answer. Was I pursuing vengeance against someone who overlooked me? A man who once made me feel essential, then reduced me to an afterthought in his life. Was I merely seeking to feel alive once more? I'm unsure. I truly don't. What I did felt instinctive. There was no intention to harm Johnny or make a statement. It resonated. Reckless. Chaotic. Humanity. My heart, starved for so long, no longer cared about the source of its nourishment. I let him down. I betrayed myself. I broke a promise to myself. I transformed into a stranger. Person I regret. There is another truth I must face. After so long I finally felt recognized. Not merely observed. Noted. Moved yet unclaimed. Longed for yet overlooked. Heard and acknowledged. Feeling alive under the gaze of someone who shouldn't notice you is perilous. I'm unsure if Johnny has any suspicions. He remains silent if he does. Perhaps he has decided to remain silent. Perhaps he fears the response. Regarding them, Henry. I'm unsure if they've discussed that night. If they informed Johnny. Should they ever do? Our conversations have faded. Infrequent messages. Some uncomfortable exchanges when Johnny extends the invitation. We act as if all is well. Yet it isn't. Every word carries weight. A hint of unspoken words in each fleeting look. One of them still looks at me as if he's waiting. Anticipating my words. Take action. To unlock that door once more. I won't specify. I doubt I could trust myself around him if I did. It frightens me. It signifies that night lingers on. Not in my thoughts. Not within me. It stays like a scent on a sweater washed repeatedly. Like an unforgettable dream. Lingering despite your wishes. I strive to remain the woman I once was. The same spouse. One mother. The version of me Johnny anticipates when he enters. I understand the reality. I am no longer her. Something in me changed that night. She never returned the same. Perhaps she won't. Have you ever felt so alone that even negative attention seemed like the only option available? Desperate for warmth, you welcomed anyone without questioning their motives. I was there. feeling regret, uncertain, simply exhausted. Exhausted from being an afterthought. Johnny hardly noticed, except when the kids needed lunch or the laundry lay unfolded. Exhausted from sharing a bed with someone so distant. Exhausted from the facade that slowly shatters me daily. When his friends offered what he no longer did, attention, warmth, presence, I accepted it. Am I a monster for this? Or merely human? I recognize my mistake. I realize I've crossed an irreversible boundary. Every mistake has its reason. A fissure that expanded beyond control. An enduring silence. Have you ever felt so empty that even a glance seemed like a lifeline? Have you ever acted not from malice but from sheer fatigue? Do you view it as betrayal? Share your thoughts in the comments. Was it merely a woman seeking to feel alive once more? Was it fragility? Or merely a moment of recognition? Sometimes the most significant stories are those we hesitate to voice. If you think stories like this deserve to be shared, raw, real, and weighty, like this video, please share it and subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold. Here we reveal the essence of humanity. Often, the riskiest doors are those we leave open without hesitation. We leave them unlocked, waiting for someone to enter and mend what we cannot face. Loneliness often whispers. At times it speaks softly. It taps softly. It enters when you are weary enough. I allowed them entry. All three. At first I believed I could manage it. Maintain control. Isolate. Emotions aren't linear. Feelings often defy reason. Boundaries blurred unexpectedly. Once that door opened, a part of me remained ajar. At this moment, I now dwell among the echoes. A memory. Johnny's eyes reveal a knowing unease, a silent acknowledgement of the unspoken. Secrets linger, heavy between me and the men who once ignited my spirit. I promised myself not to return. It was just one mistake. One evening. Some nights linger. I've been searching for the woman I was before that evening. Before I let them in, I allowed them entry. I'm still searching for a way out.